Hello and welcome back to Unlocking Our Code podcast. Tonight we will be diving into the concept of victim language, how it shows up in our lives, and how we can break free. And tonight I'm here with Lou. Hi, Lou.
Hey. Hello, guys.
Hello. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm reviewing the notes that I put for today and kind of I felt attacked a little bit. I'm like, what? I don't do this.
Well, it's a great topic to bring awareness, right? I feel like for sure this is a topic that's going to bring light into a lot of the areas where we are still using victim language in our life. Yep. And I'm sure it could help some of the listeners identify some of those areas as well. The reason why this topic is important is because victim language can trap us in cycles of negativity and disempowerment. But when we shift our mindset and the language, it can lead to a very profound transformation. And bringing awareness to the areas where we are using victim language, it's super important because definitely it's highlighting transformation. So if we can bring awareness to that, then let's dive in and just, bring that information into light.
Yeah. Especially because I feel it's very common stuff. Like what we're going to talk about is once we start giving examples, I feel like many people are going to relate because I can almost say that everybody's probably done it. And so, and it's not so much and it's what you're mentioning, it's awareness. So, when you're doing it and possibly why you're doing it. And then you can start looking within to figure out how to stop telling yourself these things. So, but again, it's pretty common things,
Yeah, for sure. And just to start off, what is victim language? So victim language refers to words, phrases, or thought patterns that reflect a sense of powerlessness, blame, or lack of control over one's circumstances. So meaning that the language that we use feels like when we're using that type of language, it feels like we're giving our power away. And it also makes us feel worthless and powerless when we're using this type of language, right? Yeah. And some examples of this language, we could talk about our own examples. And a few that I wrote is, for example, the word I can't, right? How whenever we are trying to start something new or even in general, right? The word I can't is reinforcing that you're not capable of creating or bringing to life whatever is it that you're trying to bring to life in that moment, or whatever is it that you're trying to manifest, right? Another word is I'm not creative, I'm not gifted. The one that I hear a lot, people repeat a lot, is I'm not creative. I've never been creative, right? Yeah. I'm not gifted. I don't have those type of skills. That's another one that I identified as well. I'm dumb. Oh, that was dumb. I'm so dumb. Why did I do that? Right, yeah. I'm not intelligent enough to do that. I'll try. I'll try is a big one. I identified this word maybe a little bit over a year ago, where when I say I'll try, I catch myself and I'm bringing into consciousness. No, we don't use I'll try, because I'll try is just you're telling yourself I will fail in advance. I'm not going to accomplish it, right?
You're already telling your subconscious mind yeah, we're gonna try, but the possibility is that I'm not gonna do it or I'm gonna fail at it. So you're already putting that doubt in your it's out there already. You already put it out there.
Yes, definitely. Another one is others are lucky or blessed, but not me. Bad things always happen to me.
Yep.
I wish. That's another big one, because I wish is basically a desire with no energy behind it. It's just a wish, a hollow.
There's no intent. There's nothing.
No energy, no intention behind it. So those are some examples so that the audience gets an idea of when we're talking about victim language, what concept are we trying to come from?
Yeah, I can't. Nothing ever nothing ever goes my way, or nothing ever happens to me. I hear that often. I can't help it, or it's not my fault. Like things that are just like very like negative towards yourself, and we use it so like nothing. We use these words like if they're just it's just so common, but we don't really realize what we're doing to our own self. You're already putting that on yourself when you say these words.
Yeah, because every word that we repeat on a daily basis has a pattern already, right? So if we constantly are using I can't, well, your mind is already programmed with that pattern that you can't. And whenever you're trying to do something new or try a new adventure or accomplish a goal, you already have that pattern that immediately when you feed your mind that information, what comes up is I can't, because you've repeated that so many times to yourself that's like a natural response that comes from you already.
That's exactly what I said that I'm struggling with when it comes to doing things or like scheduling things out or setting a goal for myself. I feel like that immediately wants to kick in. Like, oh, you'll try, I'm going to try to do that.
Yeah, because it's a set of words that we have been using for as long as
forever
we could remember, right? And what's interesting when you think about that is like, why do we use that language, right? Where was it born and why do we use it? So when you really start asking those questions is, well, I use it because this is what I learned. This is how I was brought up. This is what everybody around me used to use, right? It's a learned behavior, a learned pattern that we have. But I think it's very interesting because when we don't bring awareness to the victim language, we can live our whole life under this program. We can actually just die under this program of victimhood and never realize that it's a thing, that it's a pattern, that is a destructive, negative, toxic cycle and pattern that we're in. And it's why it's like, for me, it's why it's important that we share this information, right? So that we can bring awareness. Yeah.
I almost see it like a weight. Like every time we say these words, we're just putting a weight on top of us. There's like, you're just adding more and more weight and you don't really realize what you're doing. And then you're just dragging until you just feel like you just can't get out of it anymore because it's so heavy. But it's every time you're using these words, you're basically putting like I just read the book 4 Agreements. It was so good. I can't think of the author's name right now. Do you know it off the top of your head?
It's a Mexican male. What is his name?
We'll find I want to be able to. I just finished reading it. It was amazing. It was so eye-opening.
Don Miguel Ruiz is the author. Ruiz. And his son wrote a book too. I read that one.
Is it the Fifth Agreement?
The four.
There are 4 agreements, but then
agreements.
There's another one that they wrote after that one is called the Fifth Agreement, and I need to read that one too. So I think he created the other one with his son. If I might be wrong, but
his son has a book too. I read that one too, and it was really good.
You need to give me the name of that one too.
It's the Mastery of Love.
Oh, the Mastery of Love. Okay, I'm gonna write it down.
That one was a good one too. But what feedback did you get on that?
So from the 4 Agreements, it reminds me that he talks about the judge and the victim in our head. right? How they play a huge role, right? And how we have to be able to be aware when they're kicking in and they're telling us what we're used to always saying and thinking, right? You need to know when the judge is talking and when the victim is talking to you, and how we just automatically let them take over and then respond. But then when you find out and you're aware of these things and you see like you have the full control of what comes out of your mouth, of how each word that you speak, it's literally like a spell that you're putting on yourself, on others. And so, talking about the victim language reminds me so much of that, like the spells that we're putting on ourselves when we say, I can't, or that never happens to me, or I can never get ahead, or nothing ever goes my way, or I'm going to try, or I wish this would, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. Those are nothing in that has any power to it. Nothing in it is positive. It's all just weight that you're putting on yourself.
Yeah, and I remember when I began gaining awareness of this, I changed a lot of like the language. I used to speak very differently now before to what I do now, and I think as the years go on, we progress on and on. But I started being aware that a lot of the words that I would use back in the day were just had no power. Disempowered when I would use those words. I used to feel low. If I was already sad or depressed or whatever, those words would still make me feel even lower than that, right? Because I was reinforcing the program. I was reinforcing that negative pattern of speaking to myself in that way.
Yes, and I think like how important is it to our subconscious to, for our listeners, not only are we just saying something negative, but how important is it for your subconscious to get out of that pattern? Why is it so important for your subconscious to hear these, to change that, to be aware of it and to change that pattern?
Because think about it like in this way, right? Your subconscious is like a recording machine. So anything that you're feeding it, any word that you're using, is just being recorded. So if you've used words like I can't, I'm not smart enough, I'm worthless, others are better than me at this, and that's been a way that you've been talking to yourself for 20 plus years, every single time you try something new or every single time you have a new goal, those are the words that are going to come up, because that's the program. Those are the words that your subconscious has recorded and that it has. So it's only going to give you your own feedback, right? So when you start programming yourself with new words like I am capable, I was born worthy, I'm smart, I'm intelligent, I'm capable of doing this and more. When you start feeding and changing the negative program to a positive one, next time you set a goal, guess what your subconscious is going to feed back to you? Positive words. And then once you start seeing the positive words start coming up from your subconscious is when you are in the middle of changing the program. You're actually changing it. Yes, you're going to have days where your mind still wants to go to the familiar and you'll still hear like negative words, but now you're aware. You're like, oh, that's just the old self. That's just the old program trying to come up again. But now I'm aware and I'm capable of saying, no, that's not who I am anymore. I can go on the new program moving forward. And it's just practice and practice and practice and practice. It's just like nonstop practicing day and night, because day and night you get bombarded with thoughts and with all these different beliefs that we have. And it's like us being able to catch all that information and be mindful and switching it in that moment, right? We, like you said, the judge and the victim, right? When those voices come up, they don't have control of our lives unless we give it away. Unless we just say, okay, well, I'm having all these thoughts, let it, and I don't interfere at all. I just let them drive. It's like you got in a vehicle and you went on the passenger side and you just
put it on autopilot.
And it just drove. Right? So it's like taking back control and taking responsibility of our own lives that makes the huge shift in our lives, right?
And It's funny because today, as I was thinking about today's episode and what we were going to talk about, I came to a realization that I didn't understand before the meaning of when we say you're giving them the power over you, or you're giving this word the power over you, or take your power back, take your power back. I didn't fully understand that, like when I first started like coming to my full awareness. Mm-hmm. And so now I totally understand it, and I'm using it now on my kids, where when they start saying things like, my youngest daughter just started basketball, and she was really like nervous about it, and she's like, "Well, Mom, I'm not as good. Like I'm not gonna play as good." And I said, "Why are you saying that about yourself? You are good, and you're good. You're gonna try your best, and that's all we care about. And you have fun. You're gonna have fun." So I'm trying to tell her all these positive things, and then and then I told her, if you keep telling yourself that, you're letting those thoughts have power over you. And that power means that you're going to succumb to those ideas, those thoughts. You're going to succumb to those and just be like you said, like, well, it is what it is. I'm just going to let it go on autopilot. But when you realize, like, that's just a thought. That's just a meaningless thought that came up to my head. And then again, if you become aware that, when it's a judgment thought, or it's a judgmental thought, or it's a victim thought where I wish and stuff like that, you become aware of these things and you take that power back, meaning you don't let those things control you. And you can now, the thoughts still come to your head, because I still have these thoughts coming to my head. And it's when you come in and you say like, no, check yourself. Like, I'm better than this. I can do this. I will do this. These things are going to happen. The impact that does for you is crazy once you start seeing things that way and taking your power back. That's what the meaning of taking your power back is. Mm-hmm. Or allowing things around you, outcomes around you, your own reactions, your own outburst, allowing those to just take over. Mm-hmm. And letting everything go on, like, this is just what happens because of this outcome of this. That's allowing everything to have power over you. So that's what it means. But it's so beautiful and so freeing to realize and be aware that these thoughts don't control you. They're there, they're going to pop up, they're going to come up, but it's your responsibility to be aware and say, like, you know what, no more. Like, I know that I am capable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And as we're starting this journey of, first, obviously the first step is awareness, mm-hmm. and then you start reflecting on everything, right? But I feel that also as we're going through in this journey is like, we must allow in that moment for the old self to also die. In this process of releasing the victim language and breaking free from the victim language, we also have to be aware that our old identity will die, right? And that there will be a renewal, a death and rebirth, mm-hmm. a death of the old and a rebirth of the new you, the one that uses more empowering words, the one that uses words that help him or her move ahead or accomplish things, right? For me, I feel like it was a journey in itself, because growing up, I never had caregivers or parents or anyone around me that would ever feed me anything positive at all. Anything at all. I had role models that taught me the opposite, right? Mm-hmm. Which I'm grateful for, because I learned through those negative experiences to wake up to the positive mm-hmm. ones, right? So it's like, if our familiar place since we grew up has always been negative, and there's always been dysfunction in our family since we were growing up, we are going to carry those programs into adulthood. Mm-hmm. And one of them is this victim language. I noticed that when I began like my journey, everything I would say, almost every word that would come out of my mouth was like, had no power when I was speaking, because everything was negative. Everything was judgmental. Everything I had to criticize. It was always like that until I became aware, like, oh my God, this is a program that I've been under. And I started reflecting, like, I've been under this program because this is what was modeled to me since childhood, right? Now, I believed up to a certain age that I couldn't change, that this is who I am. I just thought, oh, well, this is who I am, and whoever likes me, and whoever doesn't. Yeah. Until I hit a certain point in my life where I was like, I don't like what I see. I don't like what I hear. I don't like how I feel. I don't like how I talk to others. Like, I really had to accept that I just wasn't liking who I was becoming through this process, right? So definitely as we're going through this process of shifting, you will see yourself in the dark first. And that's just part of the journey. You will see the darkest, ugliest parts of yourself, not because you need to judge those parts or not because there's something wrong with you. There isn't nothing wrong with you. There's something wrong with the program that you're under, but you yourself, you're not broken and you're not like messed up in any type of way. It's the program that's broken. It's the program that needs repair, right? Yeah. So like also being very aware that you separate those two, that you don't attach to the program because you are not the program. You're greater than the program. You're under that program because you were meant to for a certain reason that you might not understand in the moment, but as you're going through the journey, you will, right? Yep. So like for me, it was very eye-opening to see myself in darkness, to see like I really had to sit with that program and all the judge and the inner critic and all those parts of myself in darkness and learn to have compassion for them as I was like going through the journey. So definitely as we're going through this process, it does require a lot of awareness, a lot of compassion, because you will see the dark first before you can see the light, right? Yep.
Yeah, it's definitely compassion because you want to immediately judge, and that's also another program of ours that we want to judge everything we've done, we do. That's how we live in guilt, right? Because we're judging ourselves constantly. So it's just knowing when those things are kicking in, when you have to step in and say like, no, it's okay, and not get caught up in that one, because being judgmental of yourself can lead to then a life of guilt, which is also a terrible thing, and you don't want to go down that path either.
And also, one interesting part of the victim language is that it also has an emotional impact on our life, right? One of them being, well, for me, one of those impacts was I would feel unworthy and always like stuck in a lack mentality because of the certain language that I would use. Like, for example, when we are struggling and we don't have money and we just say, I don't have money for that. I don't have money to pay that bill. I don't have money. Where am I going to get that money? Oh, I can't afford that. When we say those words, we're just reinforcing the negative program that we're under. And the only reason why we use those words is because we are under a program that needs repair, that needs rewiring, right? We believe certain things, and it goes to every area in our life, right? It's not just obviously with money, it's in every area in our life that we could use a lot of that language. And because of the language that we use, we believe that we're the victim in the story. We believe that everything that has happened in our life has happened to us, not for us. So then we just continue to live from that place, like, oh, this happened to me and that person did that to me. And we just look at every single situation, every scenario, every person from a victim point of view.
And how much of that is like avoiding accountability or responsibility of oneself, right? Because it's very easy to point the finger at everybody else and saying like things like, saying things like, for example, in the job place, I can never get ahead because my boss is so unfair, or I can never get a promotion. They never pick me. They always pick, X so and so. It's never me, right? instead of taking responsibility, like what can I do different, right? Or in the what was the other thing that I had in mind? Or also like in the one that you say something like, oh, I can't, or my spouse, or like, oh, when you're in a relationship, probably using the victim language as in like, oh, my spouse is always ignoring me, or they don't take me seriously, or they don't show me that they care, and instead of like taking accountability and saying, well, are you voicing your needs? Like, are you telling your partner what it is that you need and how you feel, instead of constantly feeling like, because I think I felt that like my relationship, like I wanted a certain type of like affection or love or whatever, but I wasn't voicing it. I was just like, I expect him to know what I need, and then you're just sitting there pissed off the entire time because you're like, I can't read your mind, you need to tell me these things, so again, not being accountable for like me. It's not my fault, it's their fault, right? Like you just don't take accountability.
Like you don't take accountability over the words that you're using to communicate. Like the need, right?
The need, yeah, exactly. Like the communication part, I'm never gonna say that, oh well, it's I should be telling them, like I wasn't saying that, now I understand it, like, but it's just being accountable for yourself, taking responsibility for what you're doing and not doing, instead of constantly saying, well, I can't do that, it's never me, I'm never lucky, I don't have luck, I just wish these things happened to me, I wish my friends would invite me out more often, they're always out but they never invite me. It's like, are you voicing your concerns? What are you doing, instead of always pointing fingers and saying, you can't, you me, I can't, no, never. Like, what's your role in all of it? How are you playing it? I feel like that kind of like getting ready for this episode made me realize the accountability part that we need to take, and I think it comes with a lot with awareness again, right? Being aware of when you're saying it, going back and saying like, well, what role am I taking in all of this,
Especially how you said, like, when you were communicating your needs, right? If what I'm using with my partner is disempowering words and victim language to communicate with him, right? So if I'm feeling like my partner is not giving me affection and I'm telling him, you never hug me, you never kiss me, you never do A, B, C, and D for me. Is that language that you are using like empowered, or is it powerless? Is the language from a point of victimhood, or from a point of a person that knows her power? Like, what language are we using to communicate? And there's nothing wrong with obviously you needing to communicate your needs. It's just, what language are we using, right? So if instead of me saying, you never hug me, and I just hate that you never hug me, how can we change that phrase? That's a phrase that comes from victimhood, right? Like, I'm the victim of this, right? So how can we shift that into a powerful type of communication? Instead of using it from a victimhood, now we're communicating effectively. You can say, I love it when you hug me. I love how I feel when you give me a hug. It makes me feel loved. Right? As opposed of like, I hate that you don't hug me, I hate that you don't show me love. That already has negative.
Or how about when you're like in a group full of friends, and I've been in situations like that many times, and the spouse is saying like, oh, well, he never hugs me, so like I wouldn't know. Like, oh, that's nice. Look at I don't know what that feels like because I don't get that affection. I don't get. So it's like you're putting it out there, like everybody look at me. I'm a victim of like, I just can't, I don't get, he doesn't give me or she doesn't give me what I want, I've been in many situations like that, and I like I'm like, let me put this person aside and be like, well, what is it that you're doing, or how is it like you putting it out here in front of the whole world for you to see like you're the victim? That's not going to fix absolutely anything. You're just digging yourself in a bigger hole, you know?
Yeah, and I feel like when we take actions like that's because we're just so used to living in the victim energy, right?
Yep.
And unlearning all those patterns, it's not easy, but it is rewarding, and it does take your relationships, anything. I'm talking from a relationship point of view, but if we're looking at it from the relationship point of view, it takes your relationship to another level when you begin communicating effectively instead of communicating as a victim. It's a whole different reality, a whole different type of relationship that you begin having. The connection that happens when you're able to communicate from a place of empowerment is very different than when we are communicating from a victim point of view. I've seen the transformation, like in my own life, how me communicating from this place, totally, like it is 100% like a total different way of communicating with your partner. Your responses are different. They're actually engaged in what you're saying, because you're not like, but you don't do this and you don't do that, you know? And I'm not saying that it's going to be always perfect, because it isn't. But you will be more mindful of when you don't do it than you just being like on autopilot and just continuing to speak from this point of view, right? And that goes to every area in the life, not just in relationships, you know, also like with your kids or at work, or if you're someone that's been seeking for a promotion, but you always say they never pick me. He's the favorite, or she's the favorite, or, you know, those type of words. You're never going to get the promotion because you're manifesting from a place of disempowerment.
Yeah.
But when you can speak to yourself of like, I am capable of getting a promotion, just like the person did. I am capable. I have the skills. I have the knowledge. It might not be right now, but in the future, I see myself in that position, whatever position is that you're trying to get. That is a whole different way of manifesting.
But also feeling it, right? Like really feeling it, not just saying it.
No.
And then low key, you're straight hating on that person. You still want to, like, you know, be like, oh, that asshole didn't deserve it or some shit like that. But like really, really, really feeling that you are capable. That, okay, if it didn't happen right now, let me figure out what I can do. Let me go get feedback. Let me go communicate and ask, what could I have done differently? You know, I would really like to I would really want to move up or get a different different position, or what can I do differently? What can I start working on? What trainings, career path can you put me on? Those type of things. Get feedback. And a lot of people are afraid of the feedback, you know? Why? Because they don't want to hear it, because a lot of people are in defense mode, right? They get defensive once they start hearing feedback. Because it's never a me issue. I don't have the problem. You know, why are you telling me what I need to work on? I'm more than capable. You don't need to tell me. But that mentality is not taking you anywhere. So being open to the feedback, whether it comes from your boss, your supervisor, your spouse, a friend, whomever is giving you feedback, take it with, you know, an open heart and not take it personal.
Yeah.
But that's so hard to do. However, you just can't get nowhere if you are not open to those type of things, you know? So yeah, that's one of the things also. Another reason why I feel like people go into the victim mentality is for the desire of sympathy and validation, if they're seeking it from outside sources, because they feel like they're not validating themselves. They don't believe in themselves. So I believe like constantly being in that victim language and using it and wanting to get someone to feel sympathy or empathy, no, sympathy. Yeah, sympathy for you, you know, feel sorry for you and oh, you know, make you feel validated in your feelings, and then you're like, you see, this is what I wanted to feel from this outcome. This is the outcome that I wanted, and then it validates what you're doing, and then you just keep doing it, right?
Yeah, and even in our inner circle, right? Just pay attention to the 3 people that you're the closest to. How do they speak? that's going to mirror back to you how you're speaking in your life as well, right? Because when you are someone that's in a victim frequency, right, you will be a match to 3 or 4 or 5, whoever's in your inner circle. The 5 people that are in your circle are also victims. When you get out of victimhood, you're going to see that your friendships are much different. It's people that take responsibility. It's people that reflect. It's people that are on, on their own journey of getting out of that cycle, right? So also, I mean, speaking from a place of victimhood has an impact in your life like you can't imagine it. I mean, it comes down to, if you're in this victim energy, victim mentality, or using victim language, you will manifest people that are in the same energy field. You will also manifest your reality from this place as well. Whatever is it that you're trying to accomplish in this moment, the frequency that you're emitting is victimhood. So then you're going to be a magnet to situations that mirror that back to you, right? And not only that, but speaking in this victim language or staying in that frequency could create crisis in your life completely. Completely, because you're just reinforcing. Right? So if I'm a victim and I speak as a victim on a daily basis, I'm going to manifest situations that mirror back that I'm a victim. Things are going to happen to me because I'm a victim of life. And guess what that will create in exchange? Chaos, crisis. I mean, so many things will start happening in our life. And it's why what you say all the time, taking accountability, looking at yourself first is key. Because if you don't look at yourself of how you're playing in your own suffering, in your own movie in this moment, you're missing the point of everything. You're paying attention to everybody externally, but not at the source of creation. You are the source of creation, not the way around. You are creating. The point of creation of your life and manifestation is you. You are it. So then from you, what are you emitting out? What are your branches, right? Do they carry love frequencies? Do they care, do they carry powerful words, or are they carrying victim energies? And then you're manifesting from that point, right? So victim language or victimhood in general is not a program that we have to stay under. And it is a program that as long as you make a choice, you don't even need to know how. You just have to put it out to the universe and say, universe, I no longer want to be a victim of life. Simply as that, making a conscious choice of no longer wanting to be in that program. The universe will take care of the rest of the details. As long as you're in, your part's in, and you're willing to change your life around, everything else will fall into place. You will be guided to where you need to go. But if we don't make a choice to change this victim mentality or the language that we been using all of our life, then there's going to be no change in our life. We will live these cycles over and over and over until one day we choose to live different, right? If think about it, if you're a victim of life and if you're constantly using victim language, you are in a certain frequency, in a certain energy. If you're someone that actually has awareness and has made the choice to use powerful words and use a different perspective in life, your energy is very different than the other, right? So everything you experience in life will be totally different depending on the energy that you're on, right? So like being aware of what energy you're on in this moment, where are you manifesting from? If I'm the point of creation, what am I creating around me? Just look around you. The world, your day, the people you're around has information to feed back to you. The world, the earth is like a library. Everybody you come around, everybody every experience, every person that's around you has information to give you if you pay attention. If you say, man, I've been sad or I've been depressed for way too long, start gathering the information around you. Just pay attention to what words do I use? Am I a victim in my own life? Yeah. Like, just start gathering all that information. Yeah. You'll find a lot of your answers there.
Yeah. No, yeah. And it's all that work is we have to do ourselves, right? It's true. Putting it out there and saying, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready to get out of this mentality or this victim language. I don't want to be in this situation anymore. I want these things to stop happening to me. And, you start paying attention to the language you're using in the conversations, especially like in your own self-talk. Like, right, when you're talking to yourself, like find the situations or the emotions that lead you to express in the victim language. Like, what are those moments and those key points? Like, try and find out, okay, why am I saying what I'm saying? Why did I say, I can never get that promotion, or I'm never, why my friends never ask me to go out for a dinner, or like, why are you in that, what takes you there? What feeling makes you go there? And there's one thing that I had read about, instead of saying, this always happens to me, say things like, what can I learn from this situation? Or how can I respond differently? Instead of like, why does this always happen to me? Say, what can I learn from the situation? How can I respond differently? Or use empowering languages, like replace phrases. I love this one. Instead of saying I can't, replace it with I choose not to. Like, that's crazy. If you really think about that, you're like, oh, I no, I can't do that. No, say I choose not to, because that's what it is. That's what it comes down to. Or say I'll find a way, if you want it to be more on a positive tone, right? Because I choose not to is really what it is. And it's literally shifting your entire mindset, like, oh shoot. Because that's what it is when you're saying, oh, I can't do that, or I know, but I wouldn't be able to do something like that. No, you're choosing not to. You already basically cut your own cord. So taking responsibility for those things, you know what I mean? And that's what's going to make the biggest change, I feel. I think self-talk for me is the biggest. It's how it's helped me. It helped me get out of that. And I still do it, but I can catch myself now when I'm in that state of mind where I want to be like, oh, poor me, because that was me for a really long time. I'm now like, no, you're not going to do that. I'm not going to go down that road anymore, So those are the type of things that that have helped me, and definitely affirmations like I'm capable, like I can do this, I create my own happiness, I create what happens around me, I'm responsible for my reactions. I'm not blaming somebody else because I'm pissed off. I'm not saying, well, you made me mad, like, well, you see what happened because you reacted this way, this is how I'm gonna react. Like, I don't do that. But now I'm like trying to put that in my kid's head, like that you cannot blame others for your reaction. You can't. That's all you. That's, you're going to let others control you. You're going to let your own I tell them, you're going to let your own brain control you. Like, your brain is going to dictate what you do and say. Like, that's crazy to me, So I'm hoping that it's planting some sort of seed in their head.
It will, definitely. I believe it will. If the opposite was planted in us, and look how it's played,
I know.
Now imagine us planting the opposite seeds, which are positive and reinforcing all those beliefs in them. It's what will one day, when they're older, we will see, we will see how that plays. Not even older, right now. We could already see they respond to things very differently than us. And the one of the important things about this subject is just, like we always say, bringing awareness that you don't have to stay somewhere and live under a certain program that makes you sick. Yeah. You don't have to stay there. It is a choice.
It's a choice.
We are powerful enough to change to make shifts in our life at any point we choose to. We don't have to live in misery. We don't have to stay in survival mode all of our lives. We don't have to live how our families have lived for years and years and years. We could change. Yeah. We could make that change. We could live in a world where we are more happier, where we choose to live more aligned. We could choose different. We don't have to stay in miserable cycles. It's like, that is like my biggest thing, right? Like, we have the power to take our power back at any moment that we choose to, but we just have to make that choice. That it's time to shift, that it's time to change our language. Yes, at the beginning it will take a lot of work, because we've been used to using this language for all of our lives.
It makes us feel safe. It's like our safety is our safety net.
Yes, exactly. And even like when using bad words, I was someone that would use a lot of, not that I don't use them, but I do. I'm mindful, right? I used to use a lot of bad words before, and until I became aware that bad words have a low frequency, right? So if I'm choosing to say bad words, then I'm choosing to kind of like channel that frequency through my body. Yes, we've been used to cursing all of our life or whatever, it's kind of like the norm thing, but why is it?
Yeah.
Is it normal? Do you want to put your body through that frequency all the time? Like, really think about it, right? When we use bad words, it's a word that's emitting energy into your body, out of you. So is that something we want to continue to do on a daily basis? Of course, like, I'm not saying that we're going to be perfect, because like I still very much do it, but I'm more mindful. Like, I say, I don't want to be cursing like every single day. Like, I don't feel good doing it, right? So it's like even those little things make a difference in us, right? So it's like recognizing when we use low frequency words, why do we use them? Is it because we've been under that program? Is it because, it's the norm, it's what everybody does? Like, does it even make you feel good, right? Or when do we use them, and what do we use them for? We could change those words to a higher frequency if we choose to. And also, if like another thing that helped me a lot is being mindful of when I speak. I used to just speak because like I was someone that was like very passionate about when I have to share something. Now I take a step back. Now I've created like a filter, and when my mind's trying to say this, or my ego's trying to say that, I come in and I say, no, that is not of love. Why would you say that? Right? I will catch these thoughts and I put them through a filter. Is this going to help the person? Even if I see it, even if I believe it, even if I want to give the advice, I don't always have to give it, right? Yeah. So it's like having those filters of love, changing those low frequency words to higher frequencies. But of most important is you must have a strong why you're doing it, why you're wanting to change, why you're wanting to do this. If you don't have a strong why, if there's no reason or intention behind, then it's just gonna go really like nowhere, right? Even like with cursing. For me, the reason why I stopped a lot of it is because I caught myself that when I was in my family reunions, like all of my siblings talked to each other in that way. And I was like, this isn't good. Like, why did we learn this? Yeah. Why have we normalized it? And thankfully now, now I stopped it. I stopped talking to them in that way. We don't talk to each other that way. It's very rare that you hear us say like a bad word to each other. Like even for fun, I don't even say you're stupid to them anymore, because I don't want to emit that anymore through me to my sibling, right? Or I don't want them saying that back to me. Like, it isn't a high frequency word. Or one day my children repeating that to them, right? Because they're learning everything. And obviously, as you're going through this, it's like, have compassion for yourself, Forgive those that have passed on all this information to you if you are able to at the moment, and have the courage to end these toxic cycles, right? I feel like those are some of the things that have helped me, practicing the higher frequency words, reading high frequency books, everything that I listen to. Now I don't just listen to things just because it's on the radio. No. Now I'm mindful, because whatever I'm listening to, I'm feeding my subconscious. Even when you watch on TV, everything you're listening to, it is going to your subconscious mind. So being mindful of what we're feeding, like what we're putting into our subconscious mind, is very, very important. And yeah, those are like some of the like ways that I began being mindful, and some of the little stuff that I began changing that I felt like it was important.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of that stuff has is the most important thing, because it's we don't realize what we're putting in, what we put into ourselves, right? Like when we're listening to, even like when you say like music, it's true, music will change your mood. Like how, you could be listening to a certain type of music, next thing you know, you're sad, then you hear something that's like high energy, you're just like full energy, like it changes your mood. So it's crazy how that's a perfect example of what you're feeding yourself, or what you're feeding your mind, and how it changes your energy and your mood. And it's all that same stuff that all this junk that we can put in, that gives us that low frequency, that makes us feel good, takes us back into these patterns where we're just trying to get out of.
Yeah.
But no, I mean, it's been very helpful, like learning about all this, because I can see the things that I've come across along the way, and the things that now I'm learning. Again, like that same thing with that, what you're saying in the book that I just finished reading. It's like the words that you say and the words that others say to you. Again, it's like he puts it like it's a spell that you're putting on people, and it stays there. You think it's a meaningless word, but it does really, like it stays with them. Like it's a spell that you're putting on people when you're saying, like, if you do call someone, oh, you're stupid, you think it's like I was just joking, but that stays there. So things like that. All of these things, again, we're not saying to be perfect, because we're not. I mean, it happens all the time. That's just who we are. And there's a lot of times where I'm constantly fighting myself. But again, there's now awareness. And if we continue to go down that path, at that point, I'm choosing it. It's not like I didn't know, at that point, we're choosing it. So being aware of it all, and understanding like that, victim language, or overcoming victim language, is just like a process that's going to lead to like a higher transformation, but it requires a lot of effort, like real hard effort, intentionality. Again, that word pops up again. And like TV says, you have to have a why, like you have to have a commitment, like for personal growth, or what is it that's making you want to change, so when you're in that moment, like when you're thinking about these thoughts, you just kind of figure out how to like rephrase them, or like again change them to where instead of saying I can't, it's like I'm choosing not to, or I'll find a way, so take responsibility for those things. And positive self-talk helped me a lot, talking to myself, and it can really help you shift your mentality from like that victim mentality or victim language to something where you're empowering yourself. And it's an ongoing thing, right? It's an ongoing thing. It doesn't ever it's never going to be 100%. You're never going to be like a saint. We're not trying, and no one's trying to be a saint here or whatever, right? And quote unquote, but it's definitely helpful.
Yeah, for sure. And we, obviously with this topic, we invite our listeners to reflect on their own language. What is your own language? What is your own frequency? What is your own, where are you manifesting your current reality from? Is it victimhood, or is it an empowered, from an empowered place, right? we remind all of our listeners that you are more powerful than you really think you are. You have the power to change, to shift your life at any point that you choose to. You are more than capable. Everything that you need lives within you, and you have access to that at any moment that you choose to tap into it.
Yeah.
So with that, we thank everybody for staying on until the end.
Yes, thank you guys so much. It was an empowering, even though I've been working on this, but it was empowering to hear this and to talk about it. I always, take something back with me, and so that's all we want, just to bring awareness, and hopefully you guys start to realize next time you guys start saying these things to yourself or saying it out to others. Figure out what it is that you're looking for, or why, or where it stems from, and try to rephrase it. But again, like Devi says, thank you so much for staying on and listening to us. Hope to catch you guys on the next one. You can find us at Unlocking Our Code Podcast on Instagram. You can find me at The Plug by Revive. And you can find Devi on
Transform Your World Within on Instagram.
Your World Within. So, yeah, thank you guys. Give us your feedback. Let us know if there's anything that you guys are interested in listening to, or a message that you guys would like to hear, or let us know what you guys are thinking about our podcast. We would love to hear you guys' feedback. But yeah, thank you guys.
Bye.